We are hitting the halfway point of the season. Week 4 flipped the script on a lot of teams that we thought would make the playoffs, while also highlighting some of the teams we said would be teams to watch during the preseason. I am your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Let's recap Week 4 right now.
Need a fresh look for your home? Neff Paints, based in Warren, Illinois, is the local expert in interior and exterior painting, staining, and power washing. Serving Galena, Dubuque, Lake Carroll, Apple Canyon Lake, Lena, and beyond, Neff Paints uses premium products for lasting quality. Contact Skylar at 815-541-7338 for a free estimate and let your home shine inside and out.
In IHSA action, Amboy and Milledgeville continue to show out as the potential top 2 teams in the state. These 2 teams won't meet up until the playoffs, and one can only hope that they are on opposite sides of the brackets come playoff time to set up a potential state championship game in Monmouth if both teams continue to play to their potential. Polo is no lackluster team either. The Marcos have lost a total of 8 games over the past 5.5 seasons now, making 4 consecutive semifinal appearances to go along with those 2 state championship runs. They have allowed just 8 points all season, fewest in IHSA. That Week 6 Battle of the Blacktop game with Milledgeville will show us where Polo aligns with what many feel are the top 2 teams in state between Milledgeville and Amboy. West Carroll was able to battle back to avoid their first loss of the season, but it came to a team that hasn't competed well with the top of the IHSA. Could this show a crack in the Thunder armor as they prepare to take on number 2 ranked Milledgeville this week? Time will tell later as the missiles are ready to show what they are all about. Orangeville picked up a big win, and with the series of games coming up that should favor the Broncos, they need to keep collecting W's ahead of their Week 7 matchup with West Carroll. A slip-up in any week could see the potential for Orangeville's return to the playoffs slip away. Some other teams to watch in IHSA action include Pawnee, Martinsville, and Ridgewood. The Pawnee Indians are off to a fast 4-0 start, but some close games against St. Thomas More, who's 2-2, and South Fork, who's 3-1, are keeping people guessing about how strong they are and how that will fare for them come playoff time. Martinsville has stormed out to a 4-0 start on the season. A preseason top 5 selection returning from a semifinal run a season ago, the Blue Streaks continue to win games, albeit not against the strongest of opponents. However, they have taken care of business as expected against the inferior competition. One game that sticks out is that Week 1 game with St. Anne. The Cardinals continue to make that game look like it was a game to talk about as the season progresses forward. But Martinsville will have plenty of tests coming up, starting this week to show us who they really are. St. Thomas More has been a perennial state-ranked team since joining the IHSA, but this year found their way out after being blown away by St. Anne. However, they come right back and stun perennial state power and state-ranked team Milford Cisna Park 56-46 to show they still have a say in how the playoffs look. Don't worry, STM will be just fine as they fit into the playoff picture. The only question will be they be 6-3 or 7-2? Ridgewood certainly has started off where they left last season. They closed the gap on Amboy in Week 1 following the drastic loss at state last November. But after being punched in the mouth, the Spartans are ready for round 2 with the Clippers this week. Ridgewood appears to have some tough games left on schedule, but when looking in the crystal ball to look ahead, they should be in control of their own destiny after Week 5. Flanagan Cornell Woodland is out to a 3-1 start. Not surprising when you look at what the Falcons did last year. Then you look at the fact they lost everyone of their skill position guys and were moved into arguably the toughest division in IHSA. And here they are with a tough loss to Ridgewood 2 weeks ago. But more importantly, are 2 big wins over a playoff team from a year ago in West Prairie. Looking down the road, they still have some tough games to garner 2 more wins to secure a playoff spot, especially when you have Amboy in a rematch with Ridgewood sandwiched around an undefeated West Central team. On the NUIC front, Lena Winslow continues to win, albeit not at the same clip we have seen in years past, but every win has been by 2 scores or more. They head to Wisconsin this week to play Mineral Point before returning home for the highly anticipated matchup with Du-Pec in Week 6. However, that game with Mineral Point has been canceled as Mineral Point has pulled out from this game. Du-Pec opened up the season with the scare from Stockton, just like last year, but have since hit their stride, winning their last 3 games by 4 touchdowns or more. They have a big battle with Galena this week, but Du-Pec has never lost to Galena since the inception of the co-op. EPC powered their way past Forreston last week as Adam Allwender picked up 186 yards on the ground to lead the way. The Wildcats continue their revenge tour, but it doesn't get easier as they make a trip to John O'Boyle Field this week to play Stockton. Speaking of Stockton, they pulled out a big win over Fulton last week and can really take the driver's seat if they beat EPC this week at home. The remaining schedule appears to favor Stockton, but looks can be deceiving in the vaunted NUIC as some preseason favorites are already fighting for their playoff lives at the halfway point. Morrison and Forreston square off this week. The Mustangs are still looking for their first NUIC win, while Forreston has to win and steal a game from the likes of conference favorites Du-Pec and Lena Winslow in order to make the playoffs. Both teams have their backs against the wall as tough games still loom ahead. This is a must-win for both. The loser can simply play for pride after Week 5. Dakota is still scoreless on the year. Nobody can remember the last time the Indians have been this futile. The teams in the late 70s had a hard time collecting wins, but the 1967 team was the last winless team in Indians history. None of the fathers of today's players were even born yet, to put that into perspective. This week could be the week the Indians break through on a long road trip to the banks of the Mississippi to play Fulton. We will break down our games for Week 5 coming up next. Starting in 8-man action, Amboy travels to Ridgewood to have another game that resembles the state championship from just a season ago. These two teams met in Week 1, where Amboy came out on top 36-8. Amboy is 4-0 entering this game, while Ridgewood enters at 3-1. This game was moved to Thursday night at 7 p.m., so by the time you hear this recording, this will be game day for these two teams. Quinn Luffelman is back to team up with Josh McKendry and Braden Klein in the backfield. Most notably is his return to the defensive line. Ridgewood will need to get Gavin Franks, Roy Sandberg, and Wes Sandberg going early and often to keep Amboy guessing. On top of that, they'll need to get the defensive stops to keep the Clippers out of the end zone. Hiawatha travels to River Ridge as the Hawks enter with a 1-3 record, and River Ridge comes into this game at 0-4. It is go time for River Ridge with 5 weeks remaining. The Wildcats still have an outside chance at the playoffs, but with Milledgeville on schedule, they need to win now. Hiawatha can be that spark, as the Hawks have scored just 12 points on the season. River Ridge put up 58 in a loss last week to Orangeville. You can book River Ridge into the win column this week, provided they keep bringing the same effort they have shown through the first 4 weeks. Alden Hebron travels south to Polo as the Giants enter this game with a 2-2 record, and they face the Marcos, who enter undefeated at 4-0. Alden Hebron gave West Carroll a scare last week, giving one undefeated team a near loss. Now, they get to face another undefeated team, albeit one in which they have never beaten the powerhouse Polo Marcos. Noah Dewey, Gus Mumford, and company should have no problem slaying the Giants. The Marcos have given up just 8 points on the season in 8-man football. They'll be looking to go for their 4th consecutive shutout in Week 5. Milledgeville hits the road to play at West Carroll as both teams enter this game undefeated at 4-0. It is always hard to pick a game of the week, as you want to feature teams that will compete well against each other. While both teams enter this game undefeated, Milledgeville will enter it as a huge favorite over new upcomer West Carroll. The Thunder scraped by an Alden Hebron team with a 28-26 win last week. However, Milledgeville beat the Giants 3 weeks ago 70-20. Rafe Pickard-Chinchkin, Aiden Buckholtz, Winter Harrington, Connor Townsend and crew will have to raise their level of play to an all-time high to meet the level of play of perennial power Milledgeville. For the Missiles, it is business as usual for Spencer Nye and Micah Tom Smith. The freshman QB Kyson Francis has taken a buzz with several passing touchdowns over the past 3 weeks as he is getting comfortable in this offense. If he can find the likes of Tom Smith, Connor Johnson, and Carter Livingood again, this could be another high-scoring attack for the IHSA scoring leaders. Christian Life and Orangeville enter this game at 1-3 as Orangeville will play host to the Eagles on Saturday. We have talked about Hayden Schofield being the spotlight for Orangeville, and last week he went off as the Broncos put up 82 points. The sophomore rushed for 529 yards and 9 touchdowns on the day, setting new school records in IHSA action in both categories. This game should be another highlight reel game for Schofield and company.
This portion of our broadcast is brought to you by Du-Pec Epoxy Flooring. Serving northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin, Du-Pec Epoxy is the source for all of your epoxy needs. Give Du-Pec Epoxy Flooring a call today at 815-239-1158 for your free estimate.
Moving into the NUIC, the first game we have up is Dakota traveling to Fulton. Dakota enters this game at 0-4 while Fulton is 1-3. Both teams enter this game in desperate need of a win. The Indians are the only winless team in the NUIC, and a loss here will send them home for the playoffs for the 2nd consecutive season. On the other side, Fulton hasn't missed the playoffs since 2015. But Du-Pec still on schedule, and a rivalry game waiting in Week 9 with Morrison, the Steamers have to win now to keep their playoff hopes alive. Both teams have had their share of struggles. Dakota has barely collected a first down, but came inches away from a completed pass for a touchdown against Lena Winslow last week. They continue to show more as the weeks go by, and they have left the hardest part of their schedule behind them. Fulton also enters the easiest part of their schedule, but they have been hit with injuries early in the season. The old cliche shows true in this one. The team that wins the line of scrimmage is the team that will win this game. Forreston travels down to Morrison as these two teams square off as they enter with matching 1-3 records. You could have bet me $100, even $1,000 at the start of the season, and I would have taken you up on it if you told me Forreston and Morrison would both be 1-3 after the first 4 weeks. The Cards are having a hard time getting the run game going, albeit the 390-yard performance they put up on Dakota in Week 2. Setterstrom and Bettner continue to be the key guys, while Milnes picked up some carries against EPC. The Mustangs continue to run behind Donnie Reevy, the converted guard to fullback. However, we are still waiting for the breakout of Brady Anderson. Rylan Alvarado has shown a few glimpses of his speed as well, but there's still some lightning in the bottle to strike as the Mustangs hit the easiest part of their schedule in search of their first NUIC win. Lena Winslow is supposed to travel to Mineral Point, Wisconsin to play Mineral Point, who would have entered this week's game at 2-3. Coach Rick Aaron announced on Tuesday that Mineral Point would have to cancel their varsity game with Lena Winslow for Friday night. Rumor has it that injuries have riddled the Mineral Point team, causing them to make this hard decision. On Wednesday, Lena Winslow announced they have not been able to find a replacement team. With that said, they will receive the forfeit win, moving their regular season win streak to 23 games. Collecting win number 5, the Panthers will also qualify for the playoffs for the 25th consecutive season, a new NUIC record that Lena Winslow already held at 24. When Galena travels to Pecatonica to play Du-Pec this week, this could have easily been a Game of the Week feature, as the Pirates enter this game at 3-1, while Du-Pec enters this game at 4-0. The Pirates have suffered defeat after defeat at the hands of the Rivermen since the Du-Pec Co-op was created, including the first ever win in Du-Pec history in 2017 in Week 9, which highlighted the first win for both Durand and Pecatonica since the 2015 season. Speaking of 2015, the Pirates have only made the playoffs one time since that time, with a trip in 2021. That same year was the first and only time that Du-Pec won the NUIC championship. One could say these two teams have an intertwining past, strange as it may seem, as one team began to rise to the top while the other saw their reign crumble. The high-octane offense led by Cooper Hoffman continues to see different guys rise to the challenge every week, such as Jackson Diedrich, Dermot Dolan, Brody Black, Jordan Gassman, and Justin Anderson. On the other side of the ball, the Pirates can strike quick with Miles Schumacher and Roman Romer. They have a dual QB threat with both Romer and Owen Hafel taking snaps in the backfield, which can leave teams off guard. Add in the big target of Josh McNett at tight end, and Galena can sneak up on you in a hurry. While Du-Pec will be the favorite, expect to see Galena put up a fight as they try to respond from last year's 62-14 loss to the Rivermen.
Our 11-man game of the week is brought to you by Best Realty. Best Realty has been helping Northern Illinois tackle their real estate needs since 1990. Whether you're buying or selling, in the market for residential, commercial, or acreage, they'll help you get the best deal. Call the Best Realty team at 815-248-3408 or visit them online at bestrealtyproperties.com.
Our Best Realty game of the week takes us to Stockton, where they will play host to EPC. The Wildcats enter this game at 3-1, while Stockton enters at 2-2. The Wildcats are getting a lot of love recently. They have found themselves in our NUICfootball.com state rankings. They are earning votes in the AP state rankings, and now they are featured for the game of the week for the third consecutive week. And how can one argue? When you look at where EPC was a year ago, sitting at 0-4, to now sitting at 3-1 this year, we talked about the Wildcats in the preseason as being a team to watch. Another team we felt was one to watch is their opponent, the Stockton Blackhawks. Last year, the Blackhawks were sitting at 1-3 at this point. Both teams have not only shook up the standings of the NUIC, but both find themselves in control of their own destiny entering Week 5. While a loss will not hurt either team this week, the remaining schedule definitely favors Stockton as they have received losses to both conference favorites in Du-Pec and Lena Winslow while putting up a fight in both games. Now they host the Wildcats in a marquee matchup at the midway point. EPC continues to be led by Draven Zier and Jackson Kemple, but it was Adam Allender who led the charge last week. No matter how the Cats go about their business, the play of the line behind Vagley, Burchin, Runkle, and company will be the determining factor for EPC's success against Stockton. The Blackhawks find their success behind Mark Detweiler, but Jack Mensendike and Carter Blair have really stepped up to help shoulder the load and take the sole focus away from Detweiler. The Larson trio help keep Stockton balanced. John O'Boyle Field will be rocking come Friday night, as EPC will enter as a very slight favorite in this NUIC tilt.
Our NUICfootball.com state rankings are presented by Leading Edge Fundraising. If you need to raise funds for new uniforms, tournament expenses, equipment, or more, look no further. Brandon Sharp at Leading Edge makes it easy for you and your team to have a fun and competitive way to raise funds for your program. Give Brandon a call today at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, your premier fundraising company.
Here's a look at our NUICfootball.com state rankings as we enter week 5. Starting in 8-man, our number 1 team remains the same, the Amboy Clippers. Coming in at number 2 are the Milledgeville Missiles. At number 3 are the Polo Marcos. And at number 4 are the Martinsville Blue Streaks. Entering at number 5 is Ridgewood. At number 6, moving their way up, is Pawnee. At number 7 is West Central. Number 8 is Flanagan Cornell Woodland. Number 9 is Milford Cisna Park. And at number 10 is South Fork. Other teams receiving votes are West Carroll, St. Anne, Bushnell Prairie City, South Beloit, and St. Thomas More. In Class 1A, the number 1 team is Althoff Catholic. At number 2 is Lena Winslow, and at number 3 are the Calhoun Warriors. At number 4 is Camp Point Central, while Leroy takes number 5. At the 6th spot is Greenfield Northwestern, followed by Newman Central Catholic at the 7th spot. Entering at number 8 is Stark County. At number 9 is Aurora Christian, and falling down to number 10 is Hope Academy. Other teams receiving votes include Gibson City Melvin Sibley, Stockton, Casey Westfield, Rockford Lutheran, Cesar-Valier, and Princeville. In Class 2A, the number 1 team remains the same as it has all year long, Maroa Forsyth. Moving up to number 2 is Quincy Notre Dame, and dropping down 1 spot to number 3 is Farmington. At number 4 is Rock Ridge. Number 5 is Tri-Valley. Jumping up to number 6 is Chester. And at number 7 is Johnston City. Dropping down to number 8 is Bloomington Central Catholic. Moving up a spot at number 9 is Eastland Pearl City. And dropping down 1 spot at number 10 is Moments. Other teams receiving votes include Chicago Christian, Shelbyville, Pana, and Bismarck Henning, Rossville, Allen. And in Class 3A, our NUICfootball.com state rankings pretty much hold status quo. Number 1 is Byron, and number 2 is Montini Catholic. Number 3 is Wilmington. Number 4 is Princeton. Number 5 is St. Joseph Ogden. Number 6 is Seneca. At number 7 is Williamsville. Du-Pec enters at number 8. Monmouth Roseville follows at number 9. And Tolono Unity rounds out at number 10. Teams receiving votes is a very short list with Paxton Buckley Loda and DuCoin. That will give you a look at our NUICfootball.com state rankings as we hit the halfway point of the season. As you can see, taking a look at the docket of games that we have on schedule, there are some big games in front of us here in week 5. Some games are putting teams we thought were going to be sure bets to make the playoffs into games that, are going to be tough games that they need to win and put their backs against a wall. Other games, some surprise games that are towards the top of our conference now, are games that between teams that we felt would be teams to watch entering the year. And it's just continuing to show the said parity that we talked about in the preseason that the NUIC would show. Every week is a tough game in this conference, It shows itself all the time. You take a look at the 8-man side of things. Amboy, Polo, and Milledgeville continue to reign supreme. Obviously, we've seen some upstarts in West Carroll and then other teams around the state, such as Pawnee, St. Thomas More, Milford Cisna Park, and we have another newcomer as well in St. Anne actually showing some noise too. West Central has brought themselves back to an undefeated roll, but will begin hitting the hard part of their season as well. In any moment, these games are important for all of these teams. Get out to these games, enjoy those Friday night lights, support your teams, and as always, root for the NUIC.